My name is Adolf Latzis, or in English Adolf Laces. We drop the S because we don't repeat the S. I was born in 1941 in Latvia, Tilja, which is in the north part of Latvia, northeast of Latvia. At age 4, on the 16th of August, the Russians, we could hear the Russians coming across, and therefore we made our way to Liepāja. It took us about 2 months to get there, and at Liepāja we were able to get onto a boat to Germany, because the German government was still sending a lot of their soldiers back to Germany, and we could get onto the boat. So there was my grandfather, my grandmother, my father, my mother, myself, and my brother, and an aunt who still is in the USA, lives in USA. Now the reason we did that, because my grandfather, he was the Lord Mayor of Tilja, and he was on the list to go to that, he was offered to go to that Siberian holiday, and he didn't want to go to Siberia, so we had no alternative but try to get to Germany. We got to Germany November 1944, and my dad was called into the German army. He never came back, and eventually he was declared lost, and therefore, and then my mother, after about 4 years, remarried a Rudolf Marlinch, who became my stepfather, and then my stepfather, we were in Germany for 4 years, from 45 till 49, and my father was a driver for an American colonel and a French colonel, and they drove around the English zone and the American zone looking for some French soldiers that were buried in Germany, and they would arrange them to be sent, to be dug up and sent to be buried in France. My stepfather wasn't too keen on the American, hence when it came to us to decide where to go, we decided to come to Australia. In Australia we came, and straight away came to a camp, and as soon as my father earned enough money to be able to pay rent, we went and bought this property at Corinda here, where the film is being taken, and we built the house in 2 stages. I was lucky that the fact that my father was killed by fighting for the German army, the German government paid for my education, and I was able to go to the best schools in Brisbane, meaning Brisbane Grammar School. There they also helped me with my education, and I was able to get a degree in engineering and a degree in commerce. I worked for various companies, EPT, electric power transmission, building transmission lines, companies that did prefabricated housing, and then in 1972, with a Lithuanian friend and an Australian architect, we formed Radcon, and that was a building company that went from 72 till 84. 84 we ran into trouble building high-rise buildings, and Radcon was liquidated, and then I worked for the Queensland government looking after all their construction of units for disabled, and also for the Housing Commission. I was with them for about 20 years, and then I retired in 1913, 2 years ago, and I've since then been in retirement. I'm very lucky that I was able to finish up with a very big super. I'm very interested in the share market, and I spend a lot of time with the share market, and I can say that I've been very fortunate in the share market. I travel to Latvia at least 2 or 3 times a year because I've got relatives over there. My mother had 2 sisters who who were not offered to go to the Siberian holiday, and therefore they stay there, and they've got relatives, they've had kids, and so I go to Latvia and I help them with one of the cousins has a dairy with 100 milking cows and a couple of hundred beef cows, and my other cousin has a farm with wheat, etc., and I help them with funds and help them get onto their feet. I'm married. I was married for 35 years. My wife in 2005 passed away with cancer. I have a son and a daughter. A daughter has 2, married with 2 children. So in other words, I've got 2 grandkids and a son who is about to be married, who works for a educational company as program manager for that company. I've been very fortunate that my parents chose Australia. I have no complaints of this property now that my parents bought for £200 back in 1951 is worth, I've been offered 2.5 million, but my son wants to keep it, so we're not selling it, you know. So really, I've been very lucky, very fortunate. I'm sad that I've lost my wife with cancer. Then I had another lady, and she also, after 8 years together, she also passed away with cancer. So I do go to Latvia, and my probably plan A is to go to live in Latvia for, let's say, 6 months of the year, and then back in Australia 6 months. I still do lecture at the Queensland University of Technology in building contracts, which is only a part-time lecturing job, but that sort of keeps me interested in my field, and I still help a lot of builders. Right, now here is a photo of my father, who, as you heard, was killed while fighting for the German army, and that's my stepfather, and my mother, when she remarried the second time, back in Germany in that would be about 1948, 40 years. Yeah. Also, I'm very fortunate, I have lots of friends, and here's a photo of my 21st birthday. That's in 1962, and as you can see, these are all my university or high school friends or primary school friends. There's some Polish friends I've had, half of them are about Australian, about a third are Latvians, there's a Lithuanian. So again, I've been very fortunate that I have lots of friends, and I still have friends. And I also have a famous friend, Desbach, who married Piri Kavanova, and she's one of the famous opera singers, you know. I was best man at her wedding, so I'm very fortunate. I have lots of friends. I'm not short of a quid, and life is great. Thank you.